This is a good movie podcast with Katie and Joe.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of This is a Good Movie podcast. I'm your co-host, Joe Bates, and next to me, as always, is...
Katie Hetledge. It's
Oh,
me.
man, it's Katie Hetledge, folks. The rebel debonair.
What?
Yeah, you're the rebel. That's what all the comments have been. They go, Katie is such a rebel debonair.
What word do you think you're saying?
Debonair?
Debonair.
Debonair.
And then you said debonair.
Yeah.
Like debutante, debonair
That's
combined.
I'm glad you found out what I was doing.
But also a rebel.
And a little bit of rebel debutante debonair.
I don't want to be any of this.
Well, I'm sorry you don't like the letter B.
Yeah, only when it's in the middle of words
Yeah,
that I hate it.
I don't like a middle B. Never liked a middle B.
Yeah, exactly.
We're starting the podcast, as always, with some movie news. What do you got for us?
Oh, okay. Jumping right into movie news.
Well, what else have we got going on?
I don't know. I don't know.
We're moving to Denver. We've talked about
I
that
know.
before.
I don't know if
We
you
just
had
got our
anything
new apartment.
else you wanted to say.
I have nothing going in my life other than some minor health things I don't want to talk about.
Okay, that sounds so ominous.
I still what I'm talking about is I did a bit where I had fake blood on my hand, and that was almost a week. That was a week ago, and I still have fake blood on my hand, and I can't get it out. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping through the art of time, it'll go away.
And maybe like wash your hands a bunch more.
I have washed my hands so much. I've washed my hands so much I'm dehydrated.
Are you using soap?
Oh no, I was using I was not even using water. I was using more fake blood.
Oh, that's your issue.
Yeah, I should have. I gotta get real blood. You're right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So any of our bloodletting fans out there, if you could send me some of your blood.
No,
No,
I don't, because that arrives at the place where we both live.
our fan base is mainly bloodletters. I think we both know that.
Do you think that bloodletters keep the blood that they let?
No, but they'll have access to more of it.
No, okay.
I mean, they're probably selling off so much blood that they're able to like send in some surplus.
Yeah, they can just put some off to the side
Yeah.
for you. Okay, sure.
So just send us that blood. I can wash my hands.
Anyway, yeah, movie news. We should have just gone
Should
ahead
we have a
with...
theme song for movie news?
If anyone wants to make us a theme song for movie news, they can do so.
In the middle of the alphabet is M and N. It also stands for movie news with Katie or Joe, depending on the episode.
So that's the baseline. And if anyone can do better,
That's hard to do better than that.
then please
M and
send...
N are in the middle of the alphabet. Also stands for movie news with
Great.
Katie or Joe, depending on the episode.
Yep.
Yeah. So until we get one better, I guess I'll just sing that every time. What do you got, Katie?
Okay. I have a fun fact for you.
Well, that's not fucking news.
It is. It is news. It is news because of the movies that are out right now. Okay.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Celine Song?
Celine Song. I am familiar with Celine Song. She was in Past Lives.
No, that's Greta Lee. She directed Past Lives.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I meant.
So she wrote and directed Past Lives.
Perfect.
Do you know who her husband is?
I am gonna guess her husband is Stephen Yeun.
No. Her husband is Justin Kuritzkes. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh.
I'm just reading it.
That was the second name I was gonna say.
You don't know him.
Why would
but-
you ask me who the husband is
In
if you
case
know I don't?
already knew this movie news.
Okay, what's the movie news? Justin Kuritzkes.
Okay, so she wrote and directed Past Lives. He is the screenwriter for Challengers.
Yes,
And they're married. Now, isn't that interesting?
that is interesting.
Given the subject matter of these two films, I mean, they're not similar films in the sense that one is about like a childhood friendship lost and then rekindled over time. That's past lives. And then the
Well,
other,
you saw Challengers.
You know what? Actually, I just said that, and that is what Challengers is about. I was like, it's kind of a love triangle going on in both, and that certainly is. But also, it is about like past friendships that have faded away for one reason or another, and then they like come back into your lives and how that impacts people. And it's a lot of like, what if? I just thought that was so interesting. These movies come out within a year of each other, very similar themes.
Do you think if that couple came out as Pauly, everyone would go, "We know"?
But that's not what the movies are about.
No,
So
I
no
know,
one
I
in
know.
the movies is Polly. So I'm gonna say no. But it is like, are people paying extra special attention now to like if this couple goes out to dinner and one other person joins them?
It's like, oh, it's their old friend.
And they're like, no, it's just our old friend. And you're like, mm-hmm.
Well. No, we're healthy enough to deal with it.
So that's your movie news.
That's the
Little
movie news.
Peek behind the curtain.
The curtain has been peeked, and it was a third person making out with my wife.
No, that doesn't. No,
I know.
You didn't even see Challengers. You
I
don't
didn't
even
see.
know.
I didn't see Challengers. No, you're right. You told me about Challengers.
Yeah.
I read an article about one of the issues somebody had with Challengers was that the music played came out after the year it was saying in the movie.
Oh.
Like it was like the scene was like 2006 and they played a song from 2010 and they were kind of bothered by that.
Yeah, I get inconsistencies. I get that. You know what's interesting is that Challengers was set in 2019. Well, it was set like over a period of like 20 years, but the most recent part of it was in 2019.
And they all died from COVID.
No, they didn't. But then I was wondering, like, why would they set it in 2019? Then I was like, oh, maybe because they don't want to deal with like COVID stuff in the movie and acknowledging that. And then I was like, wait, also none of this happened and these people don't exist. So like that is irrelevant.
Well, you bring up a great transition to the movie that we're
good.
talking about with Frank.
Oh, with masks?
Well, there is Frank is based on a real person, sort of.
Okay.
So we're talking about the movie Frank.
Yep.
Came out in 2014. The budget for it was about $1 million.
Oh, wow.
The box office was about $1.8 million.
Oh, my gosh.
This movie came out in May 19th, 2014, only in the UK and Ireland. This movie did not come out in America outside Sundance.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it was never a U.S. release.
I mean,
of
this
movie.
is like the ultimate indie film. If someone's like, what is an indie film? I don't know what that means. And then you just were like, it's Frank. I think it fully encapsulates indie film.
This is the lowest budget film we've talked about and the lowest box office we've talked about, which is not surprising.
No, I gathered that. Well, you have to be quiet.
Keep playing with him.
I'm not playing. I'm trying
You
to get
petted him multiple times.
so that he'll be quiet.
No, that is not why. That's not why at all. Yeah, so it is very much like the most indie film I think we've talked about on this list. Unless you want to count Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates as artsy indie movie.
No, not quite.
Not quite. Yeah, I would say the closest we've had to this level of like indie movie. I don't know. Honestly,
Eternal Sunshine?
Eternal Sunshine is probably the closest.
That's what I would say, yeah.
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine, maybe a little High Fidelity, maybe a little The Crow. But The Crow was actually based off a pretty popular IP.
Sounds like I need to pick an indie film.
Well, you never do.
Yeah, because they're sad.
Yeah. Well, I know there's one you wanted to do with a guy in this movie, but we haven't done that one yet.
What one is that?
About Time.
I was going to ask you when we were watching this, I was going to ask you if I had already made you watch that, and then I convinced myself that I had already.
This is...
But you haven't seen
This will
it?
be, I would say, in our relationship of over 5 years, this is like the 20th time we've had this conversation, and I've told you I've not seen this movie.
In my mind, you have.
To the point that I was going to watch a movie on one of our flights, I think to Greece, and you told me you can't watch that. I want to make you watch that.
Okay, I'm going to add it to the list. Also, that's not an indie movie. It's a rom-com.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think I know a little bit about that movie based on because it's like this podcast listened to his favorite movie, so he makes like subtle references to it every now and then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay. That's definitely coming up soon.
Okay. Perfect. So that's a little bit about this movie. Again, this movie is mainly in the UK and Ireland. It was written by Peter Strahan, who's a British playwright, and John Ronson, who has written some other films. The Men Who Stare at Goats, which was a terrible movie. And The Psychopath Test in 2011, which I don't think I saw. But John Ronson was a keyboardist for a UK comedic character called Frank Sidebottom, who had a band.
Okay.
And Frank is loosely based on Frank Sidebottom, who had a very similar mask, and like everyone's like, "What's under the mask?" And nobody really cared. It was like a very minor character. There's a documentary about Frank Sidebottom that come out years later. So he wrote this movie, and then the British playwright guy goes, "Okay, well, there's some stuff we can like add into it." So they started using influences of other artists. So in this movie, Frank Sidebottom, very similar looking characters. Daniel Johnston, who's a famous singer, he suffered from bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So they use his mental illness as kind of the mental illness for Frank in this movie. Not the same exact, but just kind of the idea of that. And then Captain Beefheart, who made a album I like called Trout Mask Replica. And there's reference that his album recording for that was very similar to the way they recorded their album in that movie. So this is based on like real life artists.
Did it have any of their like permission, or like it sounds a little exploitative?
That is true because Frank Sidebottom died shortly before this film was being made, but John said that he had verbal approval.
Well, you can say anything.
But it's interesting because you see the character John in the movie and what he does, so it makes you think that maybe he did it, which I think adds to the idea of what this movie is. But yeah, we watched Frank, and hopefully you did too. I really enjoy this movie. This suffers from what Katie called a movie where nobody is good.
Yeah, nobody's good and nobody's likable.
I tend to disagree with that, but I think it's some great performance by Domhnall Gleeson. Domhnall Gleeson. Maggie Gyllenhaal, who we can talk about later. I know you have some choice words for Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I think one of the best acting performances in a movie with Michael Fassbender, because he is wearing a mask on his head the entire movie, and you kind of know what's going on with him at all times.
Yeah, well, it's helpful when he tells you.
Belated smile. Half smirk. Yeah, so it starts out with Domhnall trying to make his own music or create on the fly and like be inspired. And what did you think of his music at that time?
Bad.
You knew it was bad from the start.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, we're not musically inclined people.
No, we don't play any instruments. Yeah, so he's like bopping around, walking home from work. He's walking through town and just trying to get inspiration from anything. And he's like reading out or singing out just like things that he sees and stuff. So it was like, he has a decent voice, had some rhythm. So I guess initially I was thinking like, oh, he knows what he's doing. He just has writer's block.
What did you think Frank was going to be before you watched this movie?
Oh, I had no idea. I never heard of this film before in my life. I thought it would be about a man named Frank.
Okay, well, so far so right.
And I don't know, I thought it would be like artsy in a way, and maybe about someone who is lonely and like he needs to form a human relationship of some kind. That's about as far as I got.
Gotcha. Yeah, and honestly, you're not totally wrong.
Yeah, I was a lot closer than I had expected.
No, I don't think you thought it was going to be the shell of movie that it was.
No.
So he's just walking around. Then he just hears some commotion when he's walking around one day of a guy going insane in the beach and drinking seawater.
Yep.
And he runs into the Sapone Perfurbs.
Yeah. I don't think we ever find out how to say the band name.
No, Frank doesn't even know how it's supposed to be pronounced. And he talks to them, and they need a keyboardist. And he Donald jumps at the chance.
Mm-hmm. Well, he just says, I play the keyboard.
I play keyboards. Can you play C, F, and G? You're in. Now, the writer, John Ronson, said that's almost similar to how he got work with Frank Sidebottom's band, the Old Blimey Big Band.
Okay.
He said that was the phone call was the exact same phrases as that conversation there.
That's cool, I guess. I don't know.
So basically, John and John are very similar people.
Yes.
So he gets in the band.
Woohoo.
And he goes to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets Frank.
Well, John goes on stage. They're like, it's time. We're starting. Everyone's like warming up on stage, I guess. I don't know. They're all being weird because there's like 4 other people in this band. They're all being weird. He just goes on stage and is like, I guess I'm going to play keyboards. And then right before it starts, Frank comes out. And we realize that Frank is not just your average
Frank
lead singer. He is wearing a giant paper mache, boyish head over his own head.
I guess it's you know what it reminds me of? The Wonder Wheel face in Coney Island.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of like that face, just not as many teeth.
Yeah.
So they start playing music. What do you think of the music in this movie?
I didn't like any of it.
Really?
I didn't like any of the music. I think it's all bad. And I know that upsets you, but that's just how I feel.
The music is so cool in it.
No, it's not.
It's interesting. It's different. And
when I listen to music, I want to feel something other than like confusion. You listen to music to feel happy, excited, upbeat, or like feel your sad emotions, whatever. Like you don't listen to music to be like, I don't get it.
Oh, I disagree. I don't think it's not getting it. I think it's like favorite band is They Might Be Giants, and there's some sort of in a lot of it's like poppy, but there's some sort of chaos to it, and I feel like it's good to listen to that kind of music.
They Might Be Giants is so different from what this is. That's real music, and this is nonsense.
Music. Well, it's all original songs, loosely based off another band that I can't say the name of.
Because you just can't pronounce it, or because you're legally not able to say the name?
I can't pronounce it, and I can't find it.
Okay, got it.
Those two things. But all the music is original. All the music they play, the actors are legitimately playing and singing the music in it.
That's not that impressive, given the music.
The music is good. The music. Oh man, I when I heard this, I like unique. I like a different sound. And when I heard this music in this movie, I was like, this is like so good. It's kind of like when you go to Fendler's Friends of P show, and it's like chaos in the thing, but it all sort of works in its weird little way.
Yeah, that's a reference that everyone listening will definitely understand.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that we have disagreed enough about the music that if people are listening and they didn't watch Frank, now they have to go back and watch it, or at least search some YouTube clips of it so that they know what is being talked about.
Well, their first concert doesn't go well, which might be a theme of how all of their live music performances go.
No, they do very poorly at a string of music events, concerts.
Yeah.
And then they decide,
explodes.
and then they decide, you know what? Let's record an album. We're continuing to fail, so let's go record an album.
And I listened to the actual album, and it's pretty good. But you're introduced to the band. There's Barack, the French guy.
There's like 2 French people, and
they're
Nana,
just French.
Who's
just like, she's French, but she never talks in the movie, really.
Yeah.
She's like a legit actual drummer in real life.
Okay.
And then Michael Fassbender's Frank with the paper mache head, and then Clara Wagner, Maggie Gyllenhaal, who is an angry person. And there's the band's manager, Don, who is the one that's like trying to bring Dommel in, or trying to bring John into the whole group as their manager. And he gets a job with them. They're going to go record this album. They lie to him about it. They think it's just a show. So John goes out in the middle of Ireland and tells his job he's going to be back next Monday.
And they're out there for like over a year. They rent a home, like a farmstead, essentially, in Ireland. And then they just record there for, they're not even recording. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing nonsense.
They're preparing for the recording. Like, they have the songs, and he's like trying to get them perfect on all the small pieces of it, and they have to be perfect for it. And then also kind of expand their minds and Frank's vision of what needs to be done.
Frank makes a new form of music with new music notes and new musical instruments that nobody else knows.
Yeah. It's great. And this farm they go to is such a weird little place that I would stay at. If it was Airbnb, I'd stay there.
It looks like a pretty normal house.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a Beetlejuice house or anything like that. And John, he thinks he's part of the band constantly.
He is part of the band.
He is. He's just fiddly digits playing C, F, and G.
The rest of the band doesn't like him.
They don't want him to be a part of it. Frank has some sort of pity towards him, it feels like.
Yeah.
And they come to talk about that the last keyboardist went crazy.
Well, that's who was in the ocean, drinking the ocean water and had to get put in an ambulance.
Yeah.
And the keyboardist before that was Don, who's now the manager.
Who tells John while they're heading over that he had met Frank in the mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
Mental institution?
Mental hospital?
Mental hospital. Mental institute. Am I saying that right?
You can say a mental institution, I guess. He just says mental hospital.
Yeah, mental
institute when they're getting a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly, yeah. How about me in a mental institute? They're in the mental hospital, and John seems to be very surprised that this guy is crazy. Don, who he thinks
I don't think we should just be like, this guy's crazy. He had a mental illness.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That is correct. I'm not trying to say it in that terms. I'm saying that because Don tells him, "Oh, I'm like really crazy."
Yeah. Yeah, because he seems like just your normal whatever guy, and then he finds out that, or I guess Don doesn't tell him this. He finds out from Frank.
Yeah.
Why Don was in the mental hospital.
Yeah, because he has relations with mannequins.
Yeah.
And he tried dating real people, and it was really tough for him to get over that. It's just like a normal... It's not normal. I'm lost on where to go with this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I apologize.
You're trying to be like, the home that they're at is amazing, and it's like so special that they all have mental illnesses. Your experience watching this film is so different from mine. You're like, I found my new favorite band, and I'm like, this hurts my ears. Like,
I gotta.
And I just want to, recap. This made a little over $1 million.
Yeah, I love this movie. I would say if I had to explain myself in like 5 movies, this would be in one of them.
Yikes. That's such a red flag.
That's such a red flag. Yeah. The Royal Tenenbaums is out there. Is that a red flag?
No, that's somehow more normal.
I love in that. So John is in the movie trying to like show he's part of the band and he can create songs.
Yeah.
Even though he's constantly told he needs to create songs. And he just says to Frank, he's like, I have a song. And Maggie Gyllenhaal, Clara, comes in pissed and goes, do it. And I can't stress. I mean, I've been told, can you tell me a joke? Give me a joke, all this. I can't imagine having to make an original song or sing your original song in front of these demanding psychopaths staring at you, like crowding your space, wanting you to fail.
I guess, but also like, he shouldn't have said that if he didn't have a song.
Yeah, well,
And he didn't.
No, he did not.
He did not have a song prepared. And also, you're in a band, so you should be okay playing music in front of your bandmates. I think I had a lot more sympathy for him as I was watching this movie.
Really?
Like, looking back at my notes, I'm like, wow, these people are so mean to him. And, like, he's paying for this rental that they're staying in because they run out of money. And he's like, I have a nest egg, I'll cover it. And he's, like, paying for all this stuff. And they're so mean and, like, abusive, and they don't welcome him. And I felt so bad for him. And then by the end, I was like, no, he is a piece of shit. And so now, as we're talking back through it, I'm like, I now lack empathy for him the entire time. Yeah, that's
kind of, this is the second time I've watched the movie. So it was interesting watching the movie a second time and realizing that this guy, he doesn't have imposter syndrome. He just is an imposter. And it makes it feel like in the beginning that he has imposter syndrome.
Yeah. He doesn't I don't know. He's not an imposter. It's not that he's necessarily bad. Like, he can play the keyboard.
He can play the keyboard. That is true.
Like, that part is fine. It's just that what he wants to do, which is make popular music and, like, be famous, is not what this band wants to do. So they're misaligned there. And I think the band realizes that before he does. But instead of, I don't know, having a conversation, they just stab each other. And, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, okay, this is nonsense. These people are not good. They're not good to themselves. They're not good to each other. And whatever it is they're making musically is not working for me.
I think what it is just like this. They more represent like the spectrum of like art creation. So Frank in that band is solely focused on making art for art. Mm-hmm. And John is there that art is to be consumed and to be successful of that consumption of art for a mass audience.
Okay.
And I really like how that's represented in this because John is desperate for acknowledgement that he's doing something where he's actually lost his way in like what he was doing to begin with. He likes the image of what he looks like and what he's doing. And I think that the band just senses that immediately, or not Frank, but the rest of the band senses that he's just kind of like a clinger on. Mm-hmm. Now, do they maybe just hate keyboardists? I don't know. But I think the scene that like shows you early on that John is a little bit wacky is that when Don plays his original song that he wrote, mm-hmm. It's amazing. Like, I thought that was like
it's fine. What are you talking about?
It's so cool. I think the original music in this is like just like I can't
tell you, like, it's so, that song is like mid. Like,
oh my God, we're using Gen Z terms now?
I don't know how else to describe it. It was fine. If a 12-year-old told you they wrote that, you'd be like, wow, that was pretty good.
Wow, oh my God, this is a stab to the heart what you're doing. This is...
I don't know, call me Maggie Gyllenhaal, but...
Yeah, you are clarying me right now. I'm getting clarid.
I just don't think it was good.
I have spent a lot of my time after seeing this movie shocked that there was no nominations for Best Original Song from this movie.
I'm not shocked at all.
And well, honestly, I looked into more. It's because it didn't have a U.S. release, I believe. So
I don't think that's why, because Theater Camp had a U.S. release, and that song didn't get a nomination, and that song's great.
You want to talk about mid?
No. That's insane.
This is the Frank / Theater Camp hash it out.
Theater Camp is a better movie. It's entertaining.
This movie is it's entertaining, and there's a lot of very
redeeming.
Funny parts to this movie.
I didn't find this movie very funny. I found it mostly sad and upsetting.
Okay. Well, they record the album.
Yes, they finally, after months of doing nonsense of just like...
Don rented it out but ran out of money.
Yeah, I said that.
And John has to like put his nest egg.
I literally already said this.
You said he paid money for the thing.
I said nest egg.
Oh, I didn't hear you say nest egg. Anyways, he But when he does that, when he spends his nest egg, he feels like he's owed something for that. Mm-hmm. Because he spent money to be famous. Mm-hmm. Or he spent money, and then, man. And then they make the album. And as Katie said, it's perfect in every way.
No.
Don kills himself.
Yes.
In a Frank head.
Yeah, that part is very upsetting.
Yeah.
Because I guess they think it's Frank because he put the Frank head on. Because Frank has 2 of the paper mache heads so that he is always wearing one at any given time. He never takes it off, even in the shower.
Yeah, he puts a plastic bag over his head.
Yeah. So Don takes one of the heads and puts that on and then kills himself.
Because he feels like nothing compared to what Frank is doing as an artist. And because of that he feels small to Frank.
I guess.
Yeah. There's a word.
I mean, I think you're like reading into that because it's not like he leaves a note or anything.
No, but he does tell him when he sings a song, like, oh, it's not what Frank, it's not nothing that Frank can do. Like,
they think Frank is like a musical genius and they'll never measure up to him. Mm-hmm. So that could have played a role in this, sure.
And so, and then they just send him to sea on fire, which honestly doesn't make that part of the movie. I was like, are you not gonna tell anybody?
Yeah, like I don't know what the laws
this is
are.
A rental property
in Ireland, but I think that when someone dies, you do have to like inform authorities, inform like medical professionals, a coroner. I don't know. Also, the whole time, like I was like, okay, but the rest of the people that he's with aren't well, and now we're just getting rid of evidence.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem wise. Like, do we know? I just think he could have been murdered.
Wait, you are now implying that Don was murdered.
I'm just saying he could have been.
Okay, by the eyes of the law, if they came upon to see what happened, they could assume he might have been murdered and not hung himself in a Frank mask.
No, they would take his body, do an autopsy, and then they would determine a cause of death.
You're saying
that's the responsible thing to do.
Gotcha. So you're saying that they should have seen him hanging and not assumed it was suicide, that was possible murder. And
I'm just saying, if somebody dies, don't put them on a raft and light it on fire and send it out into a lake all on your own without telling somebody.
That's how I want to go. I want to be sent out in the lake, mysteriously set on fire, and nobody told I'm dead.
No, I'm going to call 911.
Yeah, that whole scene is a bit wacky.
I was just like in that, and that is, in the first half of the film. So at that point, I'm just like, I do not trust these people. They are not adults.
And when they set him on fire, that is when they tell John that he was the first keyboardist, and John's realizing, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
They never released the album. It just is.
I guess not, because then they're too busy chasing fame in
South by Southwest.
Yeah,
John has been filming them.
Yeah, throughout the whole thing, he's like tweeting, and which is so funny because
as stand-up comics, we see people tweeting almost that exact same dialogue, like living the life, and you know them, and they're like
not doing
they're
well.
Not living the life at all. They're going to 3 open mics a week, and that's it.
Do you think Twitter will ever be Twitter again?
Do I think X will go back to Twitter?
Yeah.
No. He has too much money.
I hope that it does, because like when talking about, this film, I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, John was Xing. He's tweeting.
I mean,
he's posting on X.
I think
that sounds like he's doing drugs.
I think I'm so happy I'm feeling myself today. I think that everyone will always refer to it as Twitter. Yeah. But will it formally become Twitter again? I don't think so.
The earth will light on fire
but
first.
Also Twitter, so you're just saying the term Twitter is your issue. Because Twitter was not good for a while. Even before the guy took over, and it's still shitty.
Yeah. I'm not on it anymore.
All social media is kind of garbage.
Anyway.
But follow us on Instagram. And YouTube is honestly the best social media left for like art, like putting out things and everything. I was just thinking about this the other day. I love YouTube. Big fan of YouTube. So yeah, John's been filming them, and he tells them he has an idea of them to get famous, and he shows them the YouTube video of them getting out there, and it has 23,751 views.
That sounds good to me.
That to me, based on like everything I know about social media, and again, this movie came out, I will say, 10 years ago. So I don't remember the metrics 10 years ago. What was a good video? But to say you have a fan base off one video's having that many views doesn't seem great.
Yeah, I don't think they understand social media.
Yeah, exactly. And John doesn't, because John in the beginning of the movie has like, I think 14 followers. There
is a video on YouTube that I am in with my friends from high school, and it has 3,000 views.
Okay. Well, I guess you were doing South by Southwest with your friends.
Just putting this into perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been up for 12 years. So
my best Instagram reel has like 25,000 views. So it's not nothing, but it's not bookable, I guess is what I'm trying to get across.
My brother got Wordle in one today.
What the fuck are we doing?
Well, I was looking at the YouTube views.
And then you were... Okay.
And then I wanted to shout him out so that everybody knows. That's amazing.
Okay. Well, that's the third person in your family that's gotten Wordle in one.
I've never gotten it.
I've done it. Your dad's done it.
One of these days.
Seems like it's very
because I
sexist
choose
Wordle.
a different word every time.
Yeah.
To start, and you guys choose the same one over and over.
That's probably true. That's probably what it is. So they plan on going to South by Southwest.
Yes.
And they get there, and the two people notice they're Frank, who are like the bookers of the show.
They're like, we're so excited because they're on South by Southwest, like emerging talent or whatever,
which
like
is like
new
a big
voices
deal.
or
Like that's
something.
like what you want as a new band and artist and stuff. They get there and they go out to like lunch with them, and they go, "Yeah, nobody knows who you are."
Yeah, well, because the band showed up thinking like, oh, everyone's going to love us. We have a following. So they felt like it would actually, even though they're hesitant to play music for people because it hasn't gone well in the past, they're thinking this will be like a safe space because they have all this support. And then, at lunch, they learn that they do not, and that having 20,000 views is like nothing. And then things really spiral. Yeah, things really spiral from there for everyone.
Frank really isn't doing well with the knowledge that he might embarrass himself or in front of a crowd of people, which is interesting. But I think it's because he doesn't seem to care about being embarrassed in the beginning of the movie. But I think by then, when he's told that everyone loves him and finally gets him, he gets his hopes up, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
Which you'll see. So this is my argument that I think Clara might actually be a good person. Because I think the reason she is so anti-John is because she sees Frank getting hurt by all of this. And that's why she's so mean and defensive.
I think that she can recognize the mismatch between John and the band. And I think she can intentionally or otherwise be working to try and, keep them apart for Frank's well-being. And I think she can do those things while simultaneously being an awful, awful, awful person.
I mean, I guess she does have sex with John in the movie, so.
Yeah.
The worst sex scene ever.
And then he's like, you're in love with Frank. Like, it's just so dumb. And then again, she stabs him.
Yeah. She told him she would.
That doesn't mean you should still do it.
I mean,
you can't go around stabbing people.
She told him that if she messes with Frank and hurts him, she was going to stab him.
She's like manic pixie dream girl gone wrong.
Oh, I'm not saying I want to hang out with this person, but I
don't want to hang out with anyone in this movie.
I'd hang out with Frank.
No.
He seems nice. He seems like a nice guy.
He seems fine, but what am I going to talk to him about?
Okay, well, don't judge him that you can't have a conversation with him. He seems nice enough.
All I said was I don't want to hang out with these people, and now it's my fault that I don't like them.
It's your fault you can't
Great.
hang out with Frank.
Okay.
You're not in the band anymore.
Good. I don't want to be in this stupid band that
Oh
plays
my
bad
God,
music.
I'm getting a new keyboardist. I'm putting the head on. I'm putting my Frank head on.
Great.
But she tells him it's such a weird thing because John finally has an ability to see fame, which is what he wants. Mm-hmm. And he somehow turns on Clara after saying he thinks they're together because they have sex. And he's like, well, the band's going to be weird when we find out we're a thing. And she's like, no, you idiot.
Yeah.
And he just determines that she loves Frank, or Frank is like leaving her, which is why she hates everything. And I feel like it's pretty clear when she's like, hey, we need to like get Frank out of this building. Mm-hmm. And John's like, why? I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
he's also
clearly,
bad.
He's clearly not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to work out. So they finally get to the gig. Everybody in the band has left.
Yeah.
John's been stabbed. Frank is not doing well, where he has like fully changed what he looks like, put weird makeup on, and John plays his song,
Which isn't good.
which isn't good, and they get booed, and it's just a full-on disgrace.
Yeah, Frank just like falls to the floor and has a breakdown.
Yeah, and they're just living in a bad hotel where they have to move out. They have a big fight. Frank gets hit by a car. John gets hit by a car. And that's like a very sad moment in the movie.
Yep. Very sad.
When Frank makes John's like, we gotta make a likable song, and Frank makes his most likable song ever.
Not good.
You did say that was your favorite song in the movie.
Yes. Because it was like kind of upbeat, it had sort of a poppy feel to it. I was like, all right, I can get sort of on board with this, but then it ended up being nonsense as well.
Yeah, it's all nonsense.
It is all nonsense.
I want to see if I can get lyrics for that.
It's just words.
Yeah,
Most of it, I mean, I get that that's what lyrics are, words, but
They're not feelings or auras.
I'm just saying his lyrics tend to be like lists of things.
His lyrics are Coca-Cola lipstick, Ringo, dance all night, I've got dancing legs. I've got dancing legs, they won't stop me dancing. No, they won't stop me dancing. Kiss me, just kiss me. Kiss me, Aphrodite. Kiss me, just the way you like it, just the way you like it. Kiss me, kiss me. Lipstick, kiss me, lipstick, Ringo, that's the way you like it. Which I think those lyrics would work for someone else singing them.
Maybe. I did think it was funny. Like, even hearing those lyrics now, I am like, it's pretty funny. But
Got dancing
it
legs.
so quickly goes from funny to concerning, as like everything in this movie does. You're like, oh, this is funny. Like, that's kind of interesting. And then you're like, oh, no, oh, no, oh, no, 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 no.
I think it's just tough because I think the one big difference between you and me is I like a bit of a dark comedy, I guess, and you really can't handle a dark comedy that much. Not that you can't handle it, not like you're bad anyway. It's just it's probably one of your least favorite genres of movies outside like horror.
Yeah. I like offbeat comedies, like What We Do in the Shadows, the film.
Yeah.
Like that's my version of offbeat indie comedy that I like. Mm-hmm. Not this.
Not this. I wrote John is such a terrible main character person, which is what I kind of like about the movie, where the main character is like, it does feel like the main character is the antagonist the entire time. Like we're watching a movie from the antagonist's perspective.
Yeah, it's so hard for me when charming people are bad.
Yeah.
They start out so charming. I mean, Domhnall Gleeson is so charming, and he's not even using his Irish accent in
Michael
this role,
Fassbender
and that just shows how charming he is.
Michael Fassbender and Domhnall are both Irish, and neither played Irish people.
Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, this sweet little man is following his dream, and he's with this quirky group, but they're going to make it, and it's going to be great, and you're cheering for him. And then slowly the layers of the onion peel back.
Yeah.
And what is left is just sadness.
Well, you cut an onion up.
You're crying. Yeah.
You're crying. So he loses Frank, and John goes on a search for Frank. And then it finally shows like all the Twitter followers he's gained trying to help them. And he goes, does anyone know where Frank is? And they're all saying mean shit. And my favorite was somebody tweeted back, I found him. He's in my asshole. Do I get a prize?
Yeah, that was funny.
But somehow it works. He finds him in Bluff City, Kansas.
Yeah, well, he knew that's where he's from.
Yeah. So
and he got a tip.
Yeah, he got the tip,
Twitter,
and when
yeah.
he looked at the tip and saw his Bluff City, Kansas, he goes, well, that seems right.
Yep. So he goes to find him. He's in a suburb at his parents' house.
Here is an interesting thing about when he goes up there. Mm-hmm. When he goes to Frank's house, he passes a kid on a bike, a guy washing a car, and an old couple. Which is exactly the same thing that John passes in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, interesting.
And then when he sees there and he says a line like, this is just like my house. Mm-hmm. He's realizing they live the exact same life. And it's not anything special and there's no trauma. Mm-hmm. The one guy is just talented and he is not.
Oh, I thought it was that one person has a mental illness and the other does not.
No.
I was like, is the point like anyone can struggle with mental health?
No, I think because he wants to believe, and I think this is what I think this is the scene that really clicked the movie for me, and why I like it so much.
The end.
Well, yeah, the end. The parents.
Yeah, that was my favorite part too.
Oh God, she's a big credits fan. What an asshole. Was the scene which he's talking to his parents and he keeps bringing up, oh, it must be this trauma or this mental illness. And the parents are like, no, he's always been good with music. Mm-hmm. This is like hindering him.
Right.
Where everyone has this romantic belief that you have to be jaded and all this. You have to have all this like issues. Whereas you're just either can do it or you can't. And that's kind of what it is. And I think when John realizes, oh, I just can't. Is like a big moment of realization when I saw this movie for like art in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's like kind of the message that really stuck with me. Because sometimes, and we know people that are just desperate to like make it in comedy, and you just see them go like a decade of like trying and trying and trying. And you can get to a certain point, but you can't, it's just not going to happen. And it like really is like a sad thing.
Yeah, we're not speaking from personal experience.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think we're talented. We're both mid.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing this podcast.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, in general, understand. Actually, you're very good, but you just don't perform it anymore. But you are one of my favorite stand-ups I've seen.
I was going to start wearing a giant paper mache head to perform.
That was you're going to be Frankina.
Yeah, I was.
And I was like, you haven't even seen the movie Frank.
I like that you made up Frankina when like Francesca like exists. Like that is a name.
There's only one Francesca, and that's the Francesca from
Too Hot to Handle. She's interesting. I think she's pregnant right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like engaged.
Yeah. So John takes. And they see Michael Fassbender without the head.
Yes, the big reveal.
He's a good-looking man. Mm-hmm. Even with his hair all chopped off and marks on his face.
Oh, yeah, from wearing the head.
Yeah,
constantly.
So he takes him to where the band is that he found earlier in the film.
Uh-huh.
And they have a beautiful moment, I think. But the problem is you hate Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I understand that because I've not liked Maggie Gyllenhaal in anything else I've seen.
I'm just saying, like, can you name one likable character that she has played?
I mean,
I respect her ability to play unlikable characters, and I don't have anything against, like, her as a person. It's just, I'm not going out to see a Maggie Gyllenhaal movie because I know I won't like who she's playing.
I mean, she is in the best superhero movie ever made, The Dark Knight.
I don't like her in that.
Yeah, that's fair. Because she's replacing Katie Holmes, and that's a hard thing to replace.
Exactly.
But yeah, I understand, and that's why I like this movie because she's unlikable as a person. So,
have you seen Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell?
No, I have not.
Oh, well, she's in that. That's like maybe the most likable I've seen her in something, and so that is an interesting benchmark. Because I don't know that she's that likable in that either, but she's more likable in it.
I mean, she's. I mean, of actors' sisters that are also famous, she's the other end of the spectrum from Joan Cusack.
Very likable.
Very likable. Yeah. So you introduce the band. They sing my favorite song in the movie. That last song.
Yes, I recognize it immediately because it's on your like favorite songs playlist.
Yeah.
So yet again, I mean, this podcast is very quickly just becoming me discovering where these songs come from.
Yeah, a lot of my songs.
It's
come from
just
movies
over and
TV
over.
shows.
We could retitle your episodes something along the lines of like, "Oh, that's where this song is from." Like that's it.
Yeah, I'm just a unique little butterfly. Which Katie would say, "Oh, it's so Aquarius of you." That's what you would call my episodes. You would call my episodes an Aquarius Aquarian.
I wouldn't call them that, but you are an Aquarius, and you do tend to pick indie films about sensitive men
Oh my
who
gosh.
think they're special.
They are
So that's
special. They're
pretty
not as
Aquarian.
special as me.
Okay.
Well, you're a fish. You're the fish one. And I love the shot of like he's at the bar watching them get back together, and then they show it, and he's just moved on and gone.
Yeah, he realizes this is not for him.
So you in this movie, you really had no enjoyment or like wonderment to me. You were just pissed off the whole time.
Kind of.
That sucks. That really sucks.
I respect the film as a piece of art.
Yeah, no, I know. I just really thought you might like this movie because there were likable actors in it, and that you would be able to get past like that other stuff.
Well, one is hidden most of the time,
Yeah,
so that's tough.
but so what do you think of his acting in the movie? Michael Fassbender.
It's good,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have the Michael Fassbender, the same like Michael Fassbender charm, I think.
Really, this is like I would say. This
I think
movie,
I need his face.
This movie really made me like. I would see any Michael Fassbender movie because of how good he is in this movie.
I think he is
Yeah.
good. I think you're really mixing up good and likable.
Okay, that might be true. So, well, we'll get to the big thing if this is a good movie near the end here. But your problem is that nobody was likable, so it's hard to get past the likability to enjoy the movie.
I don't like things where I don't have anyone to root for. It's why it was really tough to get through the final seasons of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's,
I still
that's
like
all
Aaron
there
Paul.
is.
I liked him, but yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying. Everyone's a maniac. Why do I want them to succeed?
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, I don't care if they succeed. I am very interested in who this character is and what happens to them.
I like when things have a happy ending to them,
Yeah.
or at least like some kind of like conflict resolution, and like somebody, succeeds and is doing well and things are going right for them.
Oh man, we're not gonna watch this movie in the podcast. Maybe we will. But there's a movie called Burn After Reading with George Clooney, Frances McDormand, Brad Pitt. And at the end is like some people talking about the events that happened in the movie, and they're like, "So nothing happened?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, I guess they're gonna have to make a paper for it. Nothing happened." And he goes, "Huh? I guess nothing happened."
I've seen that movie.
I love that ending.
Yeah, I don't care for that film.
And that the Burn After Reading difference. That's what I really think that movie's great too.
Sometimes it's like when I watch these films, it's like I'm watching performance art. Like I'm like, wow, they're doing a great job. This is beautifully shot. Whatever. It's not resonating with me as an audience member.
Do you think it's...
And there are films out there that do resonate with me that aren't good.
Do you think this... So you're not upset by people having that resonate with them?
No, I don't care.
Okay. Because it seems like you're really judging me for it. I'm just joking.
That would be insane for everyone to have to like every movie to the same level. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. What do you think about the representation of mental illness in this movie? Fassbender said he'd first, like, other than having to get over being claustrophobic, his goal in this movie is to make a service of not making a mockery to mental illness.
Yeah, I don't think it does make a mockery of it.
No, I think it really... I think it does a good job of, like, this is their truth or what they're going through. Mm-hmm. And what their struggles are along with it. And how they're justifying it in their own brains of why it's normal.
Yeah, I think that's true. My only concern that I said up top was, like, you know, if you're going to base this on real people who have real mental health struggles, I don't think it's good if it's like exploiting them for a story or for a success. But
yeah, I think it's more like it started off as a movie about Frank Sidebottom, and then they were like, well, we can make it more than what you're doing, and it became influenced by these other forms of, like, people that do it a little differently than everybody else. A couple things about the movie. For a second, they thought about getting Johnny Depp for Frank.
Ugh.
But Michael Fassbender, the screenplay, reached out. He's like, I really want to do this movie. He really just bonded with it. He loves the screenplay of this movie. The scene in which Frank chases John with a shovel and yells, "It'll be worth it," was fully improvised by Michael Fassbender.
That's funny. That is a funny moment.
It'll be worth it. It's crazy. And then at Sundance, when this movie premiered, everybody was given a Frank mask to wear while watching the movie.
Do you think they had to skip seats?
Yeah.
Like, you had to have people in every other seat because otherwise, I mean, if they're in huge Frank masks, those things are big. You think they had small ones?
That possibly is true. But, like, one thing about this movie, when they made it and Michael Fassbender joined, they were like, oh, we got to change the screenplay because Michael Fassbender is super muscular. And this character now needs to be a little bit different because it's going to be weird to see this muscly guy with this head thing. So he had a little bit more physicality to everything he does.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I didn't take it as like, yeah, he is muscular. I didn't take it as like, oh, he's clearly hitting the gym a lot. It was like that lean muscle of like, oh, this guy's kind of like always moving. So that was good on them.
This movie was nominated for some awards.
Okay.
It won everything it was ever nominated for. There was only like a few. It was like Las Vegas Film Critics, European Cinema, Irish Film and Television Awards, and the British Independent Film Awards, which is a pretty...
Oh, well, that one's impressive.
Yeah, they won Best Screenplay and Best Technical Achievement in Music. Which someone might be wrong, and it's you. If the British Independent Film Awards understand how beautiful an achievement of music it is,
I mean,
have they ever gotten anything wrong?
We don't know who else is in the category.
No, and there's no need to look it up.
No one.
Yeah, there is. Well, there was something we looked at that was just nobody was nominated that year, other than the one. Let me see. Best Technical Achievement. Oh, interesting. So they just kind of give random awards out. So, like, they give a technical achievement award, and then they say what the category is. So, like, 3 people got cinematography. No, actually, I'm sorry. It's technical achievement in general. So, Frank was music. A couple other movies were cinematography. One was editing. But it's, like, their technical achievement they did against each other.
Okay.
That's a little bit weirder. But, all right. Well, yeah, that's Frank.
That's Frank.
Who would you cast Wally as in this movie?
I would cast Wally as the French man.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because he doesn't have to do a lot.
And you could do subtitles.
You can do subtitles. And he has very good hair.
He has very good
hair. The
hair.
Frenchman has great hair. And I think Wally also has great hair.
I think even though like it's kind of an overused trope of someone speaking a language someone doesn't understand and being mean, this was a pretty funny...
if they're French, then it makes sense.
No, I know, but a lot of tropes is like you don't know what their language is, so like the audience gets to know what they're saying, but the person who's listening doesn't get to know.
Yeah, I'm just saying French people are mean. That's all I'm saying.
I thought you were saying like, well, if you're French, you understand what he's saying. I was like, yeah, that... Okay. All right. What is your good, bad, and normal takeaway from the...
Okay. My good take is that I think this movie is...
Oh, God.
No, this movie does a good job of looking at the relationship between mental health and fame and like kind of threading that needle of... In some ways, it's almost like a spectrum, and the closer you get towards one, the further away from the other you might be getting a little bit. So that's, kudos to the film on that. That's my good take.
Okay.
My normal take is that I think if people are Irish, they should use their Irish accents in films. Why are you depriving us of that gift?
I don't know. So you love Colin Farrell at all times?
Yes, I really do.
Okay.
And I liked that movie, and that movie was dark comedy.
That movie was a dark comedy. You did like
Banshees of Inisherin. And so, if so facto, if they had used their Irish accents in this movie, I think I genuinely would have liked it.
It's literally just the Irish accent that can get you past the dark comedy.
The rose-colored glasses of Irish accents.
How about the rose-colored glasses of Inisherin? That's me doing an Irish accent. So you can send me money if you want. And what's your bad takeaway?
Gosh, I don't know. That I guess unlikable people deserve for their stories to be told too.
That's your bad takeaway? So what the fuck?
Well, it's not a very good takeaway regardless, and also people might disagree about everyone in this movie being unlikable.
Yeah, I thought your bad takeaway was going to be they should have put Clara in a wood chipper.
I'm not stabbing people. I'm not wishing harm upon others. She's the one that's doing that.
That is true. All right. Well, Katie, we're at the point of the movie.
We're at the point of the movie
podcast. Movie. This is the point of the movie podcast. Is this a good movie? And I'll tell you what, we're on the edge of our seat for this.
I mean, this is where I'm really regretting that, like, this is the name of our podcast and that this is the question we have to answer, because it would be a lot easier for me to give this, like, 3 out of 5 or something. Mm-hmm. I guess, yeah. I mean, because it resonates so much with you and you love it so much, and I can see that technically it is a good film, I will say it is good. I will never watch it again, and I don't care for it, but
interesting.
I think it will say it's good. If you like this type of movie, you'll probably like this one.
I think you're giving it my Spy Kids take. When I didn't necessarily love Spy Kids.
Insane.
But I did understand as a kids movie and all that, it made sense. Okay, well, I can't believe it. This is the shock of all shocks. I thought I was going to have a third no. And honestly, I do feel like Katie felt bad for me because how much I like this movie, and she didn't want to say no.
You made it pretty clear.
But it's okay if you said no, but you know what? It's too late. You already said yes. That's frozen in time. Mm-hmm. This is a good frozen podcast. All right. Well, that's Frank. What are we watching next?
Next up, we are going to watch a film from the other Gyllenhaal, and we will be watching what?
I'm really excited. I love a Jake Gyllenhaal movie. I can't believe.
Well, now I'm nervous that maybe you've seen it, but I don't think you have.
I don't know. There are some Jake Gyllenhaal movies I wanted to recommend, but I'm definitely going to be holding off on that. What are you going to recommend?
The Day After Tomorrow?
I've never seen it.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you had,
again,
because we
another one
talked
we've
about
talked
it.
about, yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to watch The Day After Tomorrow, which includes Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid. I'm so excited to watch this.
This is a good movie to watch because I do believe it's our first disaster film.
Great. Well, I mean, we just watched Frank.
Oh, fucking shit. God damn. All right. Well, that's it. Okay, great. Where can you watch Day After Tomorrow?
According to Google, it's on Apple TV. But maybe everyone also already has a DVD of this somewhere in their homes.
Okay,
It's a popular film.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right, we're gonna watch The Day After Tomorrow next. Thank you so much. This is another good movie
Podcast.
We appreciate all you listening. We appreciate our podcast editor and theme song creator, Kale Forbes. The theme song vocals from Austin Fry and our logo from Carrie Pulley. If you want to hear more from us, follow our Instagram at TIAGMPod. You can find our personal Instagram handles there too. And you can email us at TIAGM, that stands for This Is a Good Movie, podcast at gmail.com. As always, following, listening, subscribing, commenting, sharing, rating, reviewing is a huge help. And I really mean this. Folks, subscribing, the simple subscription on YouTube, a simple rating on Spotify, that stuff does very much help us expand our fan base so we can all get to listen to the movies we've never heard of or love too much. But anyways, I'm Joe Bates.
And I'm Katie Hetledge. We love you.
Goodbye.
This is a good movie podcast with Katie and Joe.